Dennis.
Good morning. Happy Friday. It is August 19th, and I'm here to start my 5th vlog for my August reading challenge of completing 30 books in 30 days. My name's Heidi, by the way. This is My Reading Life, and this is another vlog. So I finished 2 more books since the last time I filmed. The first one is another Penguin Green Ideas, little slim piece of nonfiction. This one is The Democracy of Species by Robin Wall Kimmerer, and this is excerpts from her book, which I had previously read and loved, Braiding Sweetgrass. So this is just like 3 little sections from that wider book, and that book is this one, which I read, and you can see tabbed the heck out of. I read this 2 years ago, I think. This is Braiding Sweetgrass, Indigenous Wisdom, Scientific Knowledge, and the Teaching of Plants. So Robin Wall Kimmerer is a Indigenous scientist. She studies plants, and she is a just absolutely fabulous author. Braiding Sweetgrass is one of my top nonfiction nature reads ever. I absolutely loved that book. Everything about it spoke to me. It's just amazingly written. It is just filled with pieces of knowledge and wisdom that are just amazing. So this little book here, which excerpts parts of Braiding Sweetgrass, talks really about how humans utilize resources, how humans utilize other living beings in the world, and how Indigenous knowledge teaches that you need to show thankfulness for the use of other living creatures, and you need to be careful about how you use those creatures in order to acknowledge their right to live in the world as well as your own. Knowing that you need to harvest and eat certain living creatures in order for you to sustain yourself, you also have to acknowledge their right to live in the world as well, and their importance in the world. So it's really, as it says, the democracy of species, about equality between all living beings, and about recognizing your own place in the world and recognizing the importance of other living beings. And I found this a great refresher from reading Braiding Sweetgrass. This little book here specifically focuses. What it specifically focused my thinking was extraction of resources and harvest of resources, and how it's best done by building in inefficiencies, because humans have developed the knowledge and the technology to be very efficient in extracting resources, and that has allowed us to over-harvest lots of things. And by building in inefficiencies, we can be more thoughtful about what we extract and use, and we can also reduce waste, and we can also take less. So yeah, this really gave me a lot of food for thought, and really got me thinking about things in my own day-to-day work life. So yeah, fabulous. Loved it. And then I completed a 4th book for Women in Translation Month. This is Brickmakers by Selva Almada, translated from the Spanish by Annie McDermott. The copy that I have here was sent to me by Stephanie at Time to Read. Thanks again, Stephanie. I won it on her channel in a giveaway, and I am so glad I did. I loved this book. I thought this was an excellent book. So maybe last year, I read Hurricane Season and did not get on with it. I know that book is highly lauded, and I'm sure that there's lots of literary merit to it, but it just wasn't my kind of book. But this book, while dealing with many of the same themes as Hurricane Season, is just a better story in my mind. I think the story of Brickmakers is really great. So in this book, we open at a scene at a carnival in a small town in Argentina, and 2 boys are lying in the mud dying. And the story then flashes back from that point, and we learn about these 2 young boys, the families that they come from, and how they got to this place of lying in the mud dying at this carnival. And this is a story of 2 families in this small Argentine village, very, very poor, in Indios, is that the word? I think it's Indios. So they're like they're of the lowest social class in this country, in Argentina. And they are both families of brickmakers. And the fathers in these 2 families have never liked each other and have been in sort of a feud forever, and nobody really knows why. And that how that feud impacts everybody in their family. This book is dealing with machismo culture. It's dealing with what it's like to come from one of these very small, very poverty-stricken areas. But the story itself of these two families and their conflicts and how this culture that they live in impacts their lives on a day-to-day level. I thought it was fabulous. The other thing that I liked about this book was that the two main women characters, which are these two men's wives, are fantastic characters. They are the people that have to like pick everything up and get the family through it. So their strength and like ability to just overcome obstacles and ability to like keep their families together. I just love the women characters in the story. I thought that they demonstrated a lot of agency and found joy in certain things in their lives that it was nice to see them finding joy in like their sex lives and things like that. Like there was no joy in hurricane season, for example. And there was, even though there's tons of violence, there's animal cruelty, like nasty things happen. These people are not nice people for the most part. There still was some joy in this story, and the story itself was very engrossing and very readable. And I just very much enjoyed my time spent with this book, and I'm super glad that I have read it for Women in Translation Month. So those are the two books. So this is 21 and this is 22. So yeah, doing good still. Let's see how the rest of this section goes. It is August 22nd. Welcome to the first official day of my staycation. Yay me. And I have finished 2 more books for the 30 Books in 30 Days challenge. The first one is another Penguin Green Ideas book. This is number 12, The World We Once Lived In by Wangari Maathai, who is a Nobel Peace Prize winner and a person who lives in Kenya. And she works for the Greenbelt movement, which does sort of teaching people about the importance of forests and planting trees in the Congo, the area of the Congo. So this was a really interesting, I had never read anything by this author. It's a really interesting collection of her writings about the importance of trees and forests and why people should be protecting them and the services that they provide beyond economic. And just to sort of give you an idea of what the content is like in this collection, I have marked a little passage to share. What needs to be borne in mind, however, is that the conventional economics of natural resource use, that a tree is only as valuable as the amount of money that can be obtained for the products that can be made from it, fail to account for the many other values that human beings draw from the world around them. In fact, scientists are only now beginning to understand the vast range of services, natural, social, psychological, ecological, and economic, that forests perform. The water they clean and retain, the climate patterns they regulate, the medicines they contain, the food they supply, the soil they enrich, the carbon they entrap, the oxygen they emit, the species of flora and fauna they conserve, and the peoples whose very physical existence depend on them. So very interesting, talks a lot about the indigenous people of the Congo and how their cultures are being destroyed, as well as the trees that they depend on in that area of the world. I thought this was really excellent and eye-opening, and I'm glad that I read it. And then number 24 is Passing by Nella Larsen, the modern classic of the Harlem Renaissance. This is a well-known story. There's now a Netflix series based on this story, and I'm late to the party, but this is really excellent. Story of two women, Irene and her childhood friend, Claire, and they haven't seen each other since they were kids, and then Claire comes back into Irene's life. And Irene is a African-American woman who is married and living with her two sons and her husband in New York, and Claire is passing as white. She's also African-American, but is passing as white and is married to a white man who is a racist. And so that is where we start the book, with these two coming back together. They just meet by chance in Chicago, and then sort of fall back into a relationship with each other. And there's a lot of tension between the two as they try to navigate their friendship, but also to navigate the world that they live in, which is so racially segregated. But the real strength of this novel is the relationship between Irene and Claire, which is very much a push-pull kind of relationship. And I just was enthralled the whole time. It's a very short little novella, like maybe 125 pages. And I just devoured it. I just couldn't put it down because I wanted to know what happened. And both Claire and Irene are very interesting characters. Like, Claire is very selfish and self-motivated and basically does things that are what she wants to do without much worrying about what the consequences will be for other people that she knows. Whereas Irene is all about like having a peaceful, calm life. Like, she will put up with just about anything in order to have tranquility in her life. And Claire is like the exact opposite of tranquil. So the tension between these two women is just palpable. So yeah, everybody was right. This book is fabulous. I loved it. So glad that I finally got to this one during this 30 books in 30 days challenge. So I have one more book to complete for this particular vlog. You will have seen some footage previous to this clip that was from the first day of my staycation, where we played tourist. We went down to an area of the coast of Maine, about 2 hours south of where I live, and just spent the day wandering around and just enjoying the beautiful scenery and going to eat at lovely restaurants, and it was delightful. So I will end this clip here, and I will talk to you again when I've finished book number 25. It's August 23rd, and I've finished another book, so I'm at my 25 mark for my 30 books in 30 days challenge, and that 25th book was Stargazing by Jen Wang. This is a middle grade graphic novel, so it was a very quick read, and this is the story of our main character, Christine, and her friend, Moon. Moon moves into the Chinese American community that Christine lives in, and ends up living in like next door to Christine, and they become, first Christine's not really sure about Moon, but then they become best friends. And Moon is much different than Christine. She's being raised by a single mom. She's very artistic. She's very much she's very confident in herself and what she wants. She loves K-pop, and she introduced Christine to K-pop, which is very delightful. And Christine is being raised by two traditional and conservative parents, and so she's very jealous sometimes of Moon's ability to do things like wear nail polish. And so you have a little push-pull tension between Christine and Moon as their friendship develops. But it all comes sort of to crisis point when something unexpected happens and the two friends have to figure out how they're going to deal with that. So it's a story of friendship, it's a story of belonging, it's a story of two American kids growing up in a community where, you know, their parents were immigrants and what that's like and how those expectations are put on them. It was just a very delightful story, really cute, really quick read. I'm glad I read it. It's not perhaps the best middle grade that I've ever read, but I did find it delightful while I was reading it. So glad to have that one read. And that, like I said, brings me to 25 for this particular vlog. So that will end now at the end of this clip, and I will come back with yet another vlog, hopefully for the final 5 books in this challenge. Like I said, it's the 23rd of August, so I still have at least a week left of reading time, so I'm very confident. I have a couple of books on the go at the moment, so I should be finishing those up in the next day or so. So I'm feeling very confident that I will be able to reach my 30 books, and yeah, it's just been fantastic so far. Anyway, I hope you're all doing well and finding some great books to read, and I will talk to you later.